back to my channel. So I'm out here in Southern California where we don't get a lot of rainfall. So for that reason, I need irrigation in order to take care of all of the crops I want to grow throughout the year. I accidentally spilt a wheelbarrow of compost as I was going down the hill, and I decided to rake it out and then just plant some pumpkins in there, and I would hand water. They did really well in this area. They get a lot of sunlight, so they took off very well, gave me lots of pumpkins. So I decided to expand that out and make these into long rows and make 2 of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I set up my other irrigation line. And as I set it up, I'll go ahead and tell you why I'm doing it the way I am. And hopefully that'll give you some ideas of things to take into account or consider when you're building your own irrigation system. Right here is my irrigation system. This is from my well. It goes into a splitter. This splitter then has a PSI reducer because the water pressure coming out of my well is anywhere from 60 to 40 PSI. And that's too strong for the irrigation tubing. You want to reduce down because at too high of a PSI, you can either pop the tape or the emitters are letting out too much water flow, and that can lead to issues of them getting clogged or other things like that. And then I had to have some fittings to go from hose to an irrigation connection. And then I have another turn-off valve that connects to my irrigation tubing. Now, irrigation tubing is different than the drip tape. What this is doing is just transporting the water to where I need it. So with this black tubing, I can then run it to where I want it to go, and then I can tap into it to feed either my trees, my plants, or bushes. And there's several different ways of doing that. You can use drip emitters, you can use sprinkler attachments like micro sprinklers, or you can also use drip tape. So let's go look at the drip tape now. Right here is my drip tape. This is a 6-inch, half a gallon per hour drip tape. So every 6 inches there is an emitter, and that lets out half a gallon of water per hour from each one at 22 PSI. This tape is also 5/8 of an inch, and it's 15 mil thickness. So it's the thicker kind, and it should last a little bit longer. Now here are the emitters that I insert into my irrigation line. So I got this little tool that has a little sharp edge to cut the tape or your irrigation tubing, and then this will punch in the hole. All we're gonna do is line ourselves up with our irrigation. I'm gonna go ahead and punch my hole into it, pull it off, and then now I have a hole. I'm just gonna go insert the barb into it. So now it's nice and snug. These threads are reverse threads. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my tape now. I'm just gonna open up this end a little bit. And I'm gonna slide it over the irrigation fitting until it's all the way back in, and then you reverse thread it. So you turn it clockwise to tighten it down onto the tape, and now it's snugly in place. Now I just need to unwind this out the entire length of my row, and then I'll show you what I do at the end. So I've now unrolled it to the length I need, and now I'm at the end of my garden row. So I'm gonna go ahead. I went ahead and put a stake into here, just a landscape fabric staple, just to hold it in place. Because I'm on a hillside, things tend to move away, and then with the amount of wind we get, things definitely blow around here. You can see how many wood chips have already gone into my row. Now this is an end cap. There are a couple different ways to end these when you cut them. Some people will actually take a little sliver, fold the tape over itself, and then force it into the sleeve, which will then keep it folded over and closed. They also make a little plastic insert, so you just take the tape and you roll it a few times and you slide it into the end of it, and it holds it compressed So once it fills up with water, it no longer, the pressure forces itself to seal itself off. I like these, they're simple, they're quick and easy. They're the same thing as the barbs where they're reverse threaded. So you just cut your tape to where you need it, you insert this on, and then you tighten it down, and that's that. And the nice thing with this is if you ever do have a clog for some reason, you can always just unscrew the back end and open this up and let water just flood out and clear out any clog you might have. So we're just gonna open this up, take the cutters, put the staple back in for now. So right here, I see where the emitters are. You don't want to cut through an emitter, otherwise you won't be able to fit this on easily. So make sure you're cutting in between emitters. So just put it in there, close down on it, and then I give it a little lift up and it pops right off. Again, I'm just gonna open up my tape. Insert it on. And then tighten it down. Put my tape line down. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and put the staple in it to hold it in place so it stays right here. And that's it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start watering this down just a little bit with a hose. The compost will go hydrophobic on the very top where it's been being beaten down by the sun. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a light little watering just to get the surface wet, and then I can go ahead and turn on the irrigation, and that will start letting the water percolate down into the row. So as I do this, there's a few things I just wanted to cover. All right, so the first thing is picking one company. A lot of the companies decided to do their own sizing, so you can't really mix and match certain things. So it's good to pick one place and then just continuously use them. Me, I use Drip Depot because they have all of the tapes and all of the fittings, and their website is super simple, and they also have really good customer service where I've talked to them and told them like specific things and they were able to help me out. So that's something to take into consideration as well. Now with using Drip Depot, I know I'm using only 1/2-inch tubing. So if I ever do need a random part, I know that Home Depot has the dig line, and they use I know Home Depot has the dig line there, and they use all common sizes. So they use 1/2-inch and 3/4, and they have a ton of fittings. So for the most part, their fittings will cover anything that I need if something happens and I don't want to wait 2 to 3 days for shipping from Drip Depot. They don't though carry drip tubing like this or the drip tape. That's only something you can get online. It's not at Home Depot, so that's unfortunate. The second big thing is the water quality. If you're using a well, then you need to have your well tested, but you probably have sediment, so you should have a well filter, and then you'll have another filter wherever your connection is. That's another good idea to have on your irrigation line. Third, with that being said, you definitely want to also know your PSI, because you don't want to be using, let's say, an emitter that can only handle 10 or 15 PSI, and your feed line or wherever you're getting your water source from is at 60 PSI. You're going to end up having issues. So number 4, another thing to consider is your spacing. So for me, I know I have really sandy soil, and even this compost, because it's because it's in direct sunlight, I don't have lots of like leaf litter I can put on it. I know it's going to dry out, so that means I need to have tighter spacing in order to get better water penetration, and that way the roots can sprawl out and soak up as much water as they need, because we have like very intense sun, and our UV index is typically 11 in spring and summer, which is really high, and it definitely takes a beating on the plants. So that's again why I like Drip Depot, because you can ask them and tell them like, hey, I have very sandy soil, I have like a heavy clay soil, and this is what I'm looking at, and also here's the crops I'm thinking about planting, and they can tell you what size tape would work best. Those are some things to consider when building your own irrigation system. The really nice thing about these though is that they are like the adult Lego version, where there are so many fittings and so many different options out there that you can really build a very specific system for your needs. So hopefully this helps, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.